Hey guys, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm going to be talking about not a new healing method for tattoos, but one that I've just become privy to over the past year, and that is healing with Tegaderm. So what exactly is a healing method using Tegaderm? Tegaderm is like a transparent medical dressing that lays over your tattoo. It's an adhesive, kind of like a bandage, but it is clear. It kind of feels like a second skin. It is incredibly flexible. It moves with you, but it's used to protect wounds from germs entering or any kind of dirt or anything like that getting in there. So Tegaderm is placed over the entire tattoo space, including roughly about an inch of untouched space around the tattoo. So say your tattoo is this little one right here, it would cover the entire tattoo plus a little bit on the outside. So recently I used Tegaderm for the first time from my typical artist. She's never used it on me before. Usually I just do the typical method of, washing it a few times a day, moisturizing it, make sure it stays moisturized, make sure that it gets air. For my artist to use it for the first time, I was very interested in it. I have used Tegaderm, Sanoderm, they're roughly the same thing. I have used Sanoderm once before, did not have a positive experience with it, but I don't think it was the fault of Tegaderm. I just think something went wrong with the tattoo itself. And the one in question is my moon one. I've had this moon tattoo since January and it looks like I've had it for like a decade. So I don't know what happened there, but I don't think it was the fault of the adhesive itself. So that was my only experience ever with Sanoderm, Tegaderm, whatever. So this was my first true experience with it, and it was for a touch-up appointment. So I did a video recently about touching up your tattoos and how sometimes it's difficult for the ink to take that second time around because they're putting ink on top of ink that's already healed. So my artist recommended using Tegaderm because it helps kind of seal it in a little bit better. Of course, if my artist recommended it, I was more than willing to use it because I listen to my artist. I am not the expert, she is. So something to keep in mind though before you go out and try Tegaderm or Sanoderm is if you have an allergy to adhesive materials, probably not the best thing to use. You might want to just stick with the traditional healing methods, whether that's dry healing or whether that's the whole clean and moisturize. Also, I don't know much about dry healing. So with the Tegaderm, it stays there and you'll notice that there's a bunch of like ooze and blood kind of pooling up underneath the adhesive. That's perfectly normal and that's what you want to see. So like I said, I used this on my wolf tattoo recently. It needed a few touch-ups and so my artist recommended it. This was back Saturday, July 13th, so a little more than a week ago. I had a pretty good experience with it. I really liked it. It kind of sped the healing process up, which I really liked. Normally the healing process is like 2 weeks long. I'd say my tattoo is almost healed. Now, keep in mind, again, this was a touch-up tattoo. I don't know how it would be with a big size regular tattoo, like fresh out onto the skin. Again, this was a touch-up and I only had 3 spots that needed touching up and they weren't big spots. Even though only 3 spots were touched up on the tattoo, my artist did put the Tegaderm over the entire tattoo. There's no sense in just like cutting out 3 pieces just for those spots. Might as well just cover the whole area. So my artist recommended that I keep the Tegaderm on for 3 to 4 days. I believe mine stayed on for a full 3 days, and it probably would have made it a 4th day had I not gotten a little snag in the adhesive. So basically it looks like thin saran wrap. So that plastic material you use in the kitchen, or if you're like me, you use it on your tattoo for the first like 2 days after getting it done so that your tattoo doesn't stick to like your bed sheets or something like that. That's the only time I use it. But it's kind of like that and it's just an adhesive. So if you have a larger piece, you may find that your artist recommends changing out your Tegaderm adhesive after 24 hours. That's primarily because the blood and the ooze that kind of collects underneath the surface of the material, you might just want to go ahead and change it out because it's a little gross. Not all artists recommend that. I've just found that some do. I don't know what my artist would have recommended. Again, this was just 3 tiny spots on a tattoo that were getting touched up. So I don't know what a larger piece would be like. So artists will recommend maybe to change it out after 24 hours, put a new piece on and leave that for several days. Again, Not all artists recommend that though. So when the time frame has come to remove the Tegaderm finally, I found it far easier to remove it in the shower because I will say it hurt to remove. It was like a really stuck band-aid on my leg. It's on my thigh area, that's my experience. I seriously felt like all my hairs, like all the little fine baby hairs that are on your thigh, I felt like they were all being ripped out. It was a little painful. So I did find that doing it in the shower, kind of wetting it up, getting it a little bit looser, was a far better way to go than just pulling on it dry. I can't even imagine what that would have felt like. Again, some artists will tell you to leave the Tegaderm on longer, some will tell you shorter. I know some people have said that their artists recommend they leave it on for a week, some only 24 hours. Mine told me 3 to 4 days and I did the 3-day mark. I will say that if your artist recommends you change it after 24 hours, a lot may not say that, or they may recommend you come back into the shop for them to change it for you, just because you don't want to take that adhesive, that protective barrier off, and then you don't want to put a new one on and risk germs having gotten onto that site and then getting trapped in there. So usually an artist may recommend you come back in just so they can do it themselves. They can clean the site. They can make sure that you're in a sterile environment where that won't happen, or there's less of a chance. After you remove the Tegaderm, you do go about cleaning it like you normally would. You would just take some fragrance-free soap, clean the site, same thing, gentle fragrance-free lotion, moisturize the site. I personally have found I have not had to wash it like normal since I have removed it. So what I gather from that is it speeds up the healing process. My touch-up points right now are only a little bit flaky. Actually, I think 2 of them are perfectly fine now. And at the time of me filming this, it's been a week since I got the touch-ups done. Healing after a week compared to 2 weeks and then you get through the flaky process, I mean, that's fantastic. Do you know how much time and effort and energy you save by that? Now, granted, Tegaderm is not for everyone. There are a lot of pros and cons to it. I'm just finding that the pros of it kind of outweigh the cons. From my experience, again, not a typical one because it was just a touch-up. Please don't take a shot every time I refer to the fact that it's a touch-up. So for me, my tattoo never oozed during the process. It did when I finally removed the Tegaderm film. You could see where ink had pressed up against it, and so when you lift it up, you can kind of see a weird image of your tattoo. For me, it was just 3 spots, so it wasn't the entire tattoo. You may think at first, like I know I was terrified that when I was pulling the adhesive off that it was gonna lift ink. It didn't, but it sure felt like it. I thought for sure because it was stuck as I don't know what to it. I thought for sure I was gonna pull the whole tattoo off. So since I removed the Tegaderm after 3 days, the only thing I've done is clean it one time. You know, I clean it in the shower, obviously, like normal. But the only thing I've really had to do is put lotion to it because it is a little bit flaky still. And it itches. All in all, I really enjoyed the whole Tegaderm experience. I felt completely safe wearing it. It was nice being able to get into bed and not worry about bed sheets sticking to the tattoo. It was nice to take a shower and not have to worry about like hot water hitting it or it being submerged in anything. It was a really nice protective barrier against the elements of the outside. Now you do want your tattoo to breathe. I get that, but for, you know, 3 to 4 days, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, it'll be fine. But it was nice having that protective barrier on the site so I didn't have to worry about it for those first few days. And it truly sped up the healing process. Some people love Tegaderm, some people hate Tegaderm or Sanoderm, whichever one. They're relatively the same thing from what I've gathered. You know, some people love it, some people hate it. I personally, from this experience, loved it. From the finger experience, did not, but I think something else, like other elements, were there to mess that up. At the end of the day, do your own research and listen to your artist. Whatever your artist recommends and what you feel comfortable with is what you should go with, not with what some person on the internet tells you. If you yourself have ever had any experience with Tegaderm or Sanoderm, leave them in the comments below. Let us know how you felt about it. You know, did you enjoy how everything turned out? Were you not really a fan of it? If you're not a fan of it, you know, what other healing method do you use? Do you use the dry healing method? I'd like to learn more about that because I don't know anything about it. Or do you use the traditional one of just washing it a few times a day and then moisturizing it? Let everyone know in the comments below. If you have any questions about Tegaderm or Sanoderm, you can leave them in the comments below. Again, I'm kind of a newbie to it, so I may not be able to answer, but some people hanging out in the comment section may. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Going down there and hit that subscribe button wherever it may be, because I don't know. Even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit that notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye guys.